I've been doing a lot of research for the book that I'm writing, which is all about the process of moving from mid-career professional to executive. One of the things that I've learned in my research is really interesting. I'm going to talk through that today. My name is Tom, and I'm the founder of Vertical Motion, where we help mid-career professionals become executives. If that's interesting to you, there's a link down in the description of this video to explain what that looks like, how we can work together, where you can learn more information about the programs and the courses that we offer to help you take that next step in your career towards the executive ranks. Today, I want to talk to you about some of the research that I've been doing around this book, and what I've learned has actually surprised me a little bit. And so I want to share one of these revelations or ideas that I didn't know was a thing until I was doing this research and seeing the results from myself. So one of the things that we do in the Executive Career Accelerator program that we run with our clients is we help them build their executive skills. So we teach them what it means to be an executive, how to think like an executive. There's mindset shifts, there's skills and experiences and things that you need to know in order to be at that executive level. Strategic planning, setting vision, mission, understanding OKRs, all of these kinds of things that executives just kind of know how to do. No one really takes the time to teach that. So we teach those kinds of executive skills in the program. We teach all kinds of other executive skills as well: executive presence, communication, empathy for your team, understanding how to balance the financial requirements of your organization with keeping a long-term, successful, healthy culture in place. All of that is things that we kind of work through in the program. So all these skills are things that people ultimately have to learn in order to take the next step in their career. And that makes perfect sense, right? There's another area that we focus on as well, and that is executive networking. How do you actually tap the hidden job market for executives? That's not really clear to us. Like, we're so used to being able to find our next job on LinkedIn or Indeed or Stack Overflow, or just through our connections and friends that we know, like, well, I'm at this company and it's pretty nice. They might have an opening, and then, next thing you know, you're over there. At the executive level, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different of a network, and there's a little bit of a different process involved. Instead of looking for opportunities that you can fill, you actually put yourself out there so that hiring managers see you as the person that they want to bring into their team in order to solve a problem that they have. In many cases, executives are filling roles that didn't exist before the hiring manager decided, I want to have her on my team. This means that you have to put yourself out there first before you know about the role. And that's kind of a difficult process. So we work through that in the Executive Career Accelerator. We teach executive skills and we teach executive networking. Here's the really interesting thing. This is the thing that kind of blew my mind, and it is undeniable in the data based on, we've worked now with 100 clients, and this is a very true phenomenon. What I have found is that there is this concept called simultaneous learning, where you learn not one, but two adjacent skills that aren't necessarily the same thing, but they're kind of connected to each other. Where you learn two new things at the same time, you actually learn both more easily and more effectively. And even better, in the case of executive skills and executive networking, there's this really cool flywheel effect that happens where you get this positive motion towards your goals. So I'm going to kind of talk through this for a minute. So you have to build your executive skills and your executive networking skills simultaneously at the same time, because working on these things serially doesn't lead to the same level of success. So what does that mean? Imagine the situation where you just absorb book after book after book after book about executive skills. You read strategy books, you read M&A books, you read venture books, you read books about management philosophy and all of these things, right? You learn Kaizen. You just learn all of the executive skills, but you don't work on your networking at the same time. Now you have all these skills, but you have no network to share those skills with. Alternatively, you're out there networking like an absolute marketing dog and getting everyone to know you and getting to know your ideas, but you haven't really spent the time to understand what it means to actually be an executive. In both of those cases, you're going to be missing something. So when we first built the program, we said, okay, well, let's teach the executive skills first, and then we'll go into networking. But here's what I found was that the people who learned a skill and simultaneously built their executive networking skills had the best outcomes, had the most success. And I think it's because when you learn something about about being a leader, and then you turn right around and share that with an audience, people see your growth. They're finding interest in not just the information you're sharing, because maybe they've seen it before, but they're finding interest in your perspective. And this leads to positive outcomes that people see your growth. And so they're following your story. And that leads to positive reinforcement from people that are absorbing the content that you're sharing online or in meeting groups or in other areas where you're connecting with other executives. When you put the two together, first, you learn both things better. But second, one actually helps, enhance the positive effects of the other. So as you gain executive skill and you share those learnings and executive skills and ideas and concepts publicly, you get a lot of feedback, which can be, constructive and supportive, but you also gain the respect of people who are understanding that you are really investing in these concepts around leadership and executive skills, right? And that positive energy that comes from those people turns around and gives you a sense of reinforcement, like, yes, I should continue to learn more. And so you want to learn more. And then you come back to the networking with more skills and more ideas and more concepts. And so you wind up in this very positive flywheel effect of moving yourself forward in both skills simultaneously. It's because your confidence soars as the marketplace for your skills, your newly acquired executive skills, starts to materialize right in front of your eyes. It's an amazing feeling, actually. It's really cool to watch our clients go through this. So let's talk about the other way that initially how we started teaching everything was in serial. We would teach the executive skills first. And then after we felt like the client had enough executive skills, we would then have them start to go out and do networking. That process actually doesn't work as well as doing things both at the same time. And I think it's because you learn all these skills and then you go out after you've learned all of them and then you start the networking process, and they're kind of separate from each other, right? So you went through this, and now it's like if you think about college or even high school, you go through a class for a semester and then you take the final exam and then you go home for Christmas break and flush all of that information down the toilet, get everything that you learned. You're moving on to the next thing that you have to then go master. So you have mastered executive skills, and now you're going to go master executive networking, right? That actually doesn't work as well. So you wind up atrophying these executive skills as you build your skills in executive networking. When you do both things at the same time, it just works so much better. And this has been shown in so many case studies with our clients. So for example, Dan, who was kind of high energy, high battery person, he just wanted to go, 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 go. And he did both things at the same time. He went through all of module 2 and all of module 3, all at the same time, the executive skills module and the networking module. And he just, was kind of like a crash test dummy, just like, let me learn something and let me tell people about it. I'm going to learn something and tell people about it. And he built this amazing audience of people that were following his leadership journey. And now he has more opportunities than he knows what to do with. And so he's actually not even interviewing for VP level roles. He's interviewing for C-suite roles. And quite honestly, he's very happy doing consulting with multiple companies who all want his time and attention. So this worked out really well for Dan. It worked out really well for others as well. Brian came into the program. He wanted to be promoted inside of his organization. He wanted to stay with the company he was at. He was director of engineering and he wanted to move to VP of engineering. And so this was an internal move that he was trying to make. Well, with him, I had seen what had worked for Dan and Anthony and a couple other people in the program who had kind of done things in parallel. And so I had him go through this parallel track instead of this, in series track. And it was amazing. Within 6 months, he was promoted to vice president in a company that didn't have any intention of promoting him before working with us. Like, they were very happy with him being a director. He built the executive skills that his leadership told him he was lacking. At the same time, he built the ability to network, not just externally out in LinkedIn and the world, but also internally, all of that internal networking that he needed to do in order to get the CEO, the COO, and several others in his organization to recognize his value and his talent and his contribution to the organization that he can make at the executive level. Doing these two things at the same time, he absorbed more information, he retained more information, and he was able to get more benefit from that information. So all of this is to say that sometimes trying to learn things step by step makes sense. But in the case of when it comes to learning how to become an an executive, we have found that when people do these things in parallel, simultaneously learning executive skills and executive networking at the same time, they have a much better outcome. Things move faster, they retain more information, they're more engaged in the work that they're doing, they understand it better, they feel better about what they're doing. We've modified the program to work that way so that people dive into these things right away, right? They are learning the executive skills, but they're also diving into creating content, putting themselves out there, which is a big thing. It's hard for a lot of people, especially people who are like me, very empathetic and kind of wanting to spread the credit around. It's harder to kind of toot your own horn when you're like that. But when you recognize that you have to put yourself out there in order to become the leader that you want to become, and you also think about the fact that there are employees who would much rather work for you than for a narcissist or someone who's incompetent and not qualified for that role, which they just interview better. So then you realize you really do need to put yourself out there, not just for yourself, but for the others that you would serve and support as well. So that's what I wanted to share with you today, was this idea of simultaneous learning. There's a whole bunch of research on it, and I talk a little bit about this in my book, which I'm working on. It's coming. I'm hoping to have this out in the next couple months. And in the book, I talk about the art of simultaneous learning. So I'm excited to share more about that once the book is released. But I just wanted to share this concept with you, that when you go to learn something, if you have to learn things in series, consider what it looks like to learn something in parallel. So like doing cardio and weight training at the same time, like learning both of those things at the same time. It can be overwhelming at first, but you get this positive flywheel effect where one is helping the other. And we have seen that very much to be the case with learning executive skills and learning executive networking. So hope this was helpful to you. If it was, leave a like. If you haven't subscribed, love to have you on the channel to watch more of these videos. I put 2 of these out a week. So hopefully I will see you in the next one.